It's not the battles themselves that define us, but how we choose to respond to them. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to bounce back no matter what life throws at them? Why some people keep moving forward even when it feels like the whole world is against them? What is it that gives them that strength? The answer, my friends, is resilience. Resilience is not about avoiding the fight. It's about finding the strength to keep going even when it feels like the odds are stacked against you. It's about getting up time and time again, no matter how many times you get knocked down. And you might be thinking, but it's hard. How can I find the strength to keep fighting when I feel so tired, so defeated? And I get it. I really do. Life can be tough, but I want you to remember something. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to grow stronger. Every time life knocks you down, it's giving you a chance to stand back up and show the world what you're made of. Think about it. If Sarah had given up when things got tough, she would never have achieved her dreams. If she had let her circumstances define her, she would never have known the joy of overcoming them. So ask yourself, what are you going to do when life gets tough? Are you going to give up? Or are you going to stand up and keep fighting? The only thing standing between you and your dreams is the fight you're willing to put up. The battles you face are not here to defeat you. They are here to teach you, to shape you, to make you stronger. And when you look at them that way, when you see every challenge as an opportunity, you start to realize something incredible. You start to realize that you are far more powerful than you ever imagined. So as we move forward today, I want you to carry this thought with you. Never stop fighting. No matter what life throws at you, no matter how tough things get, keep moving forward, keep believing in yourself, and remember that every step you take, no matter how small, is a step towards your dreams. You have the power within you to overcome any obstacle, to rise above any challenge. All you have to do is believe it and never stop fighting. We all face challenges. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or what you do. Challenges are a part of life. They don't discriminate based on age, race, or status. They show up when we least expect them and often when we're least prepared. And sometimes when we're right in the thick of it, when everything seems to be going wrong, we can't help but ask ourselves, why? Why do we face these obstacles? Why do we have to struggle so much? I want to take a moment to explore that question. Why do we face obstacles? It's a question that's crossed all our minds at some point, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed or defeated. But I want to offer you a different perspective today. What if, instead of seeing these challenges as roadblocks, we began to see them as stepping stones? What if we understood that these obstacles are not here to break us, but to build us? Think about it. Every single one of us has been through something difficult. Maybe it was a loss, maybe it was a failure, or maybe it was a situation where you felt completely out of control. And while you were going through it, it felt impossible, right? It felt like you were stuck, like you couldn't move forward. But here's the thing. You did move forward. You're here today, aren't you? You made it through. And I'll bet that if you look back on that experience, you can see how it shaped you, how it made you stronger, more resilient, more understanding. Obstacles are not meant to be the end of the road. They are opportunities in disguise. They are chances for us to grow, to learn, and to become the people we are meant to be. You see, without challenges, there would be no growth. Without struggles, there would be no strength. And without obstacles, there would be no triumph. Look at the stories from history and literature. Think about people like Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison and came out with a vision of reconciliation and unity. Or Helen Keller, who, despite being blind and deaf, became an incredible author, lecturer, and advocate for people with disabilities. These are not just stories of hardship. They are stories of people who use their obstacles as stepping stones to achieve greatness. We can also see this in our everyday lives. Think about a time when you faced a significant challenge, maybe a financial hardship or a personal loss. At the moment, it felt like the end of the world. But over time, you found a way to navigate through it. You found a way to pick up the pieces and keep moving forward. And as difficult as it was, you came out on the other side, perhaps a little bruised, but certainly a lot stronger. So the next time you find yourself facing a challenge, I want you to ask yourself, what is this here to teach me? How can I use this to grow? Because the truth is, challenges are like weights in a gym. They're heavy, they're hard to lift, but every time you lift them, you're building muscle. You're becoming stronger, more resilient. And that strength, that resilience is what will carry you through life's toughest moments. Now let's talk about the mindset of a fighter, because to never stop fighting, you've got to think like a fighter. You've got to have that mentality, that grit, that determination to keep going no matter what. But what does it mean to be a fighter? Is it about winning every battle? Is it about being the strongest or the fastest? I'd like to share with you what I believe makes a true fighter. A true fighter isn't defined by their victories or their losses. They're defined by their spirit. It's not about how many times you get knocked down, but how many times you get back up. It's about having the courage to keep going, even when the odds are against you, even when it feels like you have nothing left to give. Courage, determination, and belief in oneself. These are the traits that make up the mindset of a fighter. And these are things that come from within. You don't have to be the strongest or the smartest to be a fighter. You just have to have the will to keep going, the determination to not give up. Mental strength is far more critical than physical strength. You see, our bodies can endure a lot, but it's our minds that determine how far we can go. Have you ever noticed that when you're faced with a physical challenge, it's often your mind that tells you to stop before your body is actually ready to quit? That's because our minds are incredibly powerful. They can either be our greatest ally or our biggest enemy. So how do we cultivate a fighting mindset? How do we train our minds to be stronger, to be more resilient? It starts with what we tell ourselves. Positive affirmations are a great place to start. Remind yourself daily that you are strong, that you are capable, that you can handle whatever comes your way. Because when you start to believe it, you start to live it. Visualization is another powerful tool. Picture yourself overcoming obstacles. See yourself standing tall after a battle well fought. Imagine the feeling of pride and accomplishment that comes with never giving up. When you can see it in your mind, it becomes easier to make it a reality. And of course, persistence is key. Keep pushing forward, no matter how slow the progress might seem. Remember, it's not about how fast you go. It's about never stopping. Every step, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. And with every step, you're building that mental muscle, that resilience that will carry you through life's toughest battles. So, the next time you're faced with a challenge, remember the mindset of a fighter. Remember that it's not about winning every time, but about getting back up and fighting another day. Remember that every obstacle is an opportunity to grow stronger. And remember that you have everything you need within you to overcome whatever comes your way. Let's make a pact today. Let's promise ourselves that no matter what life throws at us, we will never stop fighting. We will never let obstacles break us, but instead use them to build us, to shape us into the best versions of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it's not the fight that defines us, but the spirit with which we fight. And that, my friends, is the true mark of a fighter. Now let's talk about something that we all fear, something that makes our hearts sink and our spirits waver. It's a word that carries so much weight. We've all been there. We've all faced moments when things didn't go as planned, when we fell short, when the outcome was far from what we'd hoped. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like we've lost, like we've failed. But today, I want to challenge you to see failure in a new light. I want to encourage you to embrace failure as part of the process, not as an end, but as a beginning. Failure isn't something to be ashamed of. It's not a sign of weakness or incompetence. It's simply a part of life. And more importantly, it's a part of growth. You see, failure isn't about falling down. It's about what you do after you fall. It's about picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and asking, what can I learn from this? Let me share a personal story with you. Years ago, I found myself at a crossroads in my life. I had just experienced what felt like the biggest failure of my career. I had poured my heart and soul into a project that, for one reason or another, completely fell apart. I was devastated. I felt like I had let everyone down, including myself. For a while, all I could see was the failure. I couldn't see past the mistakes I'd made or the opportunities I'd missed. But then something happened. I remember sitting alone one night, feeling lost, when a thought came to me. What if this isn't the end? What if this is just the beginning of something new? I started to look at the situation differently. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, I began to think about what I could learn from it. I asked myself, what did this experience teach me? How can I grow from this? What can I do differently next time? And slowly, the fear of failure began to fade. I started to see that this so-called failure was not a dead end, but a stepping stone. It was an opportunity to learn, to grow, to become better. And as I embraced that mindset, I found new opportunities, new paths, and new ways to move forward. They say it could be our greatest teacher. I believe it can, absolutely. But only if we're willing to learn from it, if we're willing to look at our failures not as defeats, but as valuable lessons. Think about some of the most successful people in history. People like Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb, or Michael Jordan, who was cut from his high school basketball team, or Oprah Winfrey, who was told she wasn't fit for television. These are people who faced failure head-on, who didn't let it define them, who learned from it and used it to fuel their success. And it's not just the big names. Look around you. Look at your own life. How many times have you faced failure only to come out stronger on the other side? How many times have you learned something valuable from a mistake or a setback? You see, failure is a powerful teacher because it forces us to confront our weaknesses, to acknowledge our mistakes, and to find new ways to approach challenges. It humbles us, but it also strengthens us. It pushes us out of our comfort zones and makes us realize that we are capable of more than we ever thought possible. But here's the thing. Learning from failure requires a shift in perspective. It requires us to let go of the fear of being wrong or looking foolish. It requires us to see mistakes as part of the learning process, as essential steps on the... So how do we do that? How do we embrace failure instead of running from it? It starts with changing the way we talk to ourselves. Instead of saying, I failed, try saying, I learned. Instead of saying, I'm a failure, say, I'm growing. It's a small shift, but it makes a big difference. It turns failure into something positive, something to be embraced rather than feared. Another important step is to take responsibility for our failures, not in a way that beats us up or makes us feel worse, but in a way that empowers us. When we take responsibility, we take control. We acknowledge that while we may not have control over everything that happens, we do have control over how we respond. We can choose to learn, to grow, and to move forward. And let's not forget the importance of perseverance. Just because we fail once, twice, or even 100 times doesn't mean we should give up. In fact, it means quite the opposite. It means we're trying, we're learning, and we're getting closer to where we want to be. Every failure is a step forward, a step towards success, as long as we keep going. I want you to think about a time when you failed. Really think about it. What happened? How did it feel? And most importantly, what did you learn? How did it shape you? Did it make you stronger? Did it teach you something you wouldn't have learned otherwise? As you think about this, I want you to realize something important. You're still here. You survived that failure, you moved forward, you grew, and that, my friends, is the true power of failure. It's not about falling. It's about rising. It's about using every experience, every mistake, every setback to become the person you're meant to be. So the next time you find yourself facing failure, don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Embrace it. Learn from it. Use it to fuel your growth and to push you towards your goals. Remember that failure is not the end. It's just a part of the process, a part of the journey towards something greater. And above all, never forget that you have the power to turn every failure into a success. You have the power to rise above any challenge, to learn from every mistake, and to keep moving forward no matter what. All you have to do is believe in yourself, embrace the process, and never stop fighting. Failure isn't something to fear. It's something to welcome with open arms. It's an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become stronger. It's a chance to prove to yourself and to the world that you are more than your mistakes, that you are resilient, that you are capable, and that you will never, ever give up. So embrace failure, learn from it, use it, and watch as it transforms you into the person you were always meant to be. Fear and doubt. These two little words carry such enormous weight. They creep into our minds, often when we least expect them, and they have a way of stopping us in our tracks. How many times have you had a brilliant idea or a burning desire to do something different, only to feel that familiar pang of fear or hear that whisper of doubt telling you that you can't, that you shouldn't, that you're not good enough? Let's talk about that for a moment. Let's talk about how fear and doubt can hold us back, how they can stop us from living the lives we truly want. Because the truth is, fear and doubt are some of the biggest barriers to our progress. They are like invisible chains that keep us tethered to the ground when all we want to do is soar. Why do we let them have so much power over us? Why do we allow them to dictate our actions, our decisions, our lives? It's because fear and doubt feel real. They feel like concrete walls, solid and unmovable. They make us believe that we're not capable, that we're not worthy, that we should just stay where we are because it's safe. But here's the thing. Fear and doubt are not real. They are not concrete walls. They are illusions created by our minds. They are stories we tell ourselves, stories that keep us stuck in the same place, doing the same things, living the same life. And these stories, my friends, are just that. Stories. They're not truths. So how do we move beyond our fears? How do we break free from the doubts that hold us back? The answer is simple yet so profound. By facing them head on. By looking them in the eye and saying, I see you. I hear you. But I will not let you control me. Think about it. What happens when you face a fear? What happens when you step into the unknown? Even though every part of you is screaming to turn back, you realize something incredible. You realize that the fear was never as big or as powerful as you thought. You realize that it was just a shadow, a trick of the mind. And as soon as you face it, it starts. Let me share a story with you. It's about a man named Jack who always dreamed of being a public speaker. He had so much wisdom to share, so many ideas he wanted to put out into the world. But every time he thought about standing in front of a crowd, he was paralyzed by fear. What if he made a mistake? What if people laughed at him? What if he wasn't good enough? For years, Jack let that fear hold him back. He watched as others stepped up, shared their voices, and made an impact while he stayed silent. But one day, Jack made a decision. He decided he was tired of letting fear control his life. He decided he was going to face it head on, no matter how terrified he felt. And so he signed up for a local event, a small gathering where he knew he would have to speak. As the day approached, his fear grew. But instead of running from it, Jack did something different. He acknowledged it. He said to himself, I am scared. I am nervous. But that's okay. I am going to do this anyway. The day of the event, Jack stood in front of that small crowd, his hands shaking, his heart pounding. But he spoke. And as he spoke, something amazing happened. The fear began to fade. With every word, he felt stronger, more confident. By the end of his talk, he was smiling, filled with a sense of accomplishment he had never known before. Jack realized that day that his fear was not a wall. It was a shadow. And by stepping into that shadow, he discovered the light that was always there waiting for him. Jack's story is a reminder to all of us that we are not our fears. We are not our doubts. We are so much more than that. And when we face these fears head on, when we challenge the doubts that try to keep us small, we find a strength within us that we never knew existed. But how do we do that? How do we face our fears when they feel so overwhelming? One technique is to break the fear down into smaller, more manageable pieces. If the idea of speaking in front of a large crowd terrifies you, start small. Speak in front of a few friends, then a small group, then gradually work your way up. Each small step builds confidence and chips away at the fear until it's no longer there. Another technique is visualization. Close your eyes and imagine yourself doing the very thing that scares you. See yourself succeeding, see yourself confident, see yourself overcoming the fear. The mind is a powerful tool. And when we visualize success, we are training our minds to believe it's possible. And let's not forget the importance of self-talk. How we speak to ourselves matters. When fear and doubt creep in, counter them with positive affirmations. Remind yourself of your strengths, your abilities, your past successes. Remind yourself that you are capable of so much more than you think. Fear and doubt are natural. They are part of the human experience. Everyone feels them. But what separates those who achieve great things from those who don't is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. Look at people like Rosa Parks, who faced immense fear and doubt, but stood up for what she believed in anyway. Or Elon Musk, who faced countless failures and setbacks, but kept pushing forward. Or even J.K. Rowling, who faced rejection after rejection before finally getting her first book published. These people were not without fear. They were not without doubt, but they chose to move forward anyway. They chose to believe in themselves, to trust in their abilities, and to face their fears head on. So the next time you feel fear creeping in, the next time doubt tries to whisper in your ear, remember that you have a choice. You can choose to let it control you, or you can choose to face it. You can choose to see it for what it really is, a shadow, an illusion, and take that step forward anyway. Because when you do and you move beyond your fears, you open up a world of possibilities. You discover strengths you never knew you had. You find courage you never thought possible, and you realize that there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that you cannot do. So let's make a promise to ourselves today. Let's promise that we will not let fear and doubt hold us back. Let's promise that we will face them head on, that we will challenge them, that we will move beyond them. Because on the other side of fear, there is freedom. On the other side of doubt, there is belief. And on the other side of both, there is the life you've always dreamed of living. So go out there, face your fears, overcome your doubts, and never stop fighting for the life you want. Let's talk about finding strength. Real strength. The kind that doesn't waver in the face of challenges. We often look outside of ourselves for this strength. We look to others for validation, to circumstances for confidence, and to the material world for a sense of worth. True strength doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. It's an inner well that you tap into, one that is filled with your values, your principles, and your understanding of who you are at the core. Why is it so important to look inward for strengths? Because everything outside of us is temporary. Circumstances change, people come and go, and material things can be lost in an instant. If we base our strength on these things, we find ourselves unshaken. We find ourselves swaying with every shift, every change, and every loss. But when our strength comes from within, when it's rooted in who we are, it becomes unshakable. It becomes a fortress that stands strong no matter what life throws at it. So where does true strength come from? True strength comes from knowing who you are and standing firm in that knowledge. It comes from understanding your values and living in alignment with them. It comes from being true to yourself no matter what. It's about looking in the mirror and knowing that you're doing your best, that you're living your truth, and that you are enough just as you are. Think about a time when you felt truly strong. Maybe it was a moment when you stood up for what you believed in, even though it was difficult. Or maybe it was a time when you stayed true to yourself, even when others tried to sway you. What was it that gave you that strength? Was it external validation? Or was it a deep sense of knowing who you are? I encourage you to explore your personal values, write them down, reflect on them, understand how they guide your actions and decisions. Because when you're clear about your values, when you live in alignment with them, you find a strength that cannot be shaken. You find a resilience that carries you through even the toughest of times. Now, while inner strength is vital, it's also important to acknowledge that none of us can do it all on our own. We all need support. We all need people in our lives who lift us up, who encourage us, and who stand by us when things get tough. That brings me to another key point. The role of support systems. Can we fight alone? It's a question worth pondering. And while inner strength is crucial, the answer is no. We are not meant to fight our battles alone. We are social beings, and we thrive when we have a network of support. We all need help at times. We all need a shoulder to lean on, an ear to listen, and a voice to remind us of our worth when we forget. Think about the people in your life who have supported you. Maybe it's a family member who has always been there for you. Maybe it's a friend who has listened to you in your darkest hours. Or maybe it's a mentor who has guided you and believed in you and you didn't believe in yourself. These people are your support system. They are your anchors. They are the ones who help you stay grounded when life feels overwhelming. Support systems provide strength and encouragement when we need it most. They remind us that we are not alone, that we are loved, and that we are capable of overcoming any obstacle. They lift us up when we are down, and they push us forward when we feel like giving up. So how do we build and maintain a supportive network? It starts with being open and honest about our needs. Don't be afraid to reach out for help when you need it. Don't be afraid to lean on others. Remember, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It takes courage to admit that we can't do it all on our own. And it takes wisdom to know when to ask for support. It's also important to nurture your relationships. Be there for the people in your life. Show up for them just as you would want them to show up for you. Offer a listening ear, a helping hand, or a word of encouragement. Build strong, meaningful connections based on trust, respect, and mutual support. And let's not forget the value of mentors. Mentors are people who have walked the path before us, who have faced similar challenges, and who can offer guidance and wisdom. If you don't have a mentor, I encourage you to find one. Look for someone who inspires you, someone who has achieved what you aspire to achieve, and someone who is willing to share their knowledge and experience with you. I believe that the challenges we face, the fights we endure, and the struggles we overcome are what give life its richness, its depth, and its meaning. They shape us into the people we are meant to be. They teach us about resilience, about strength, about courage. They help us discover what we're trying. So I want you to ask yourself this: is there ever a point where we can stop fighting? Is there ever a moment when we can sit back, relax, and say, I've made it? I've arrived. There are no more battles to be fought. The answer is no. The fight never ends because growth never ends. As long as we are alive, we are growing. And as long as we are growing, we will face challenges. This is the natural rhythm of life. This is the dance of existence. And it's a dance that never stops. But rather than seeing this as a burden, we can choose to see it as a gift. We can choose to see each new challenge as a new opportunity for personal development. We can choose to embrace the continuous nature of the fight and recognize it for what it truly is, a chance to evolve, to expand, to become more of who we are. Let me tell you a story about a man named Tom. Tom was a successful businessman who, for many years, lived a comfortable life. He had everything he thought he needed, and for a long time, things seemed easy. But then, out of nowhere, he lost his job. He lost his security, his sense of purpose, and his confidence. It felt like the rug had been pulled out from under him. At first, Tom was angry. He felt betrayed by life, like he had been dealt an unfair hand. He kept asking, why me, why now? But after some time, something shifted. He realized that this was not the end of his story, but a new chapter. He saw this challenge not as a defeat, but as a call to grow, to change. Tom decided to pursue his passion for art, something he had always loved but never had the time for. He took classes, practiced day and night, and eventually he started selling his paintings. Today, Tom is a thriving artist, doing what he loves and living a life that is far more fulfilling than he could have ever imagined. Tom's story is a beautiful example of how the continuous nature of life's battles can lead to unexpected growth. If Tom had seen his job loss as the end, he never would have discovered his passion for art. He never would have tapped into that deep well of creativity within him. He never would have found the joy that comes from doing what he truly loves. So when you find yourself facing a new challenge, don't shy away from it. Don't wish it away. Instead, ask yourself, what is this here to teach me? How can I use this to grow? Embrace the fight, knowing that it is not a sign of failure, but a sign of growth. Every challenge you face is an invitation to rise to a new level. It's an opportunity to learn something new about yourself, to discover a strength you didn't know you had, to develop a skill you didn't know you needed. It's a chance to become more of who you are. And isn't that what life is all about? Isn't it about becoming, evolving, expanding? Isn't it about pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible and discovering what lies beyond them? So let's not see life's battles as things to be avoided. Let's see them as opportunities to be embraced. Let's see them as the very things that make life rich and meaningful. Because the truth is, the fight is never really about the battle itself. It's about who we become in the process. It's about the strength we build, the wisdom we gain, the courage we develop. It's about the journey of becoming our best selves. So remember this. There's no final victory, but there is continuous growth. There is no end to the challenges, but there is endless opportunity. And with each new challenge comes a new chance to grow, to learn, to become more of who you are. Life will always present us with battles to fight. It will always challenge us, push us, and test us. But instead of fearing this, we can choose to embrace it. We can choose to see every challenge as a stepping stone, every battle as a chance to grow, and every struggle as an opportunity to become stronger. And in doing so, we find that the fight is not something to be feared, but something to be cherished. We find that life, with all its ups and downs, all its twists and turns, all its battles and challenges, is a beautiful dance of growth and evolution. And we find that in the end, the fight is not just about winning, but about becoming. Becoming who we are meant to be, becoming the best version of ourselves, and becoming the person who never stops growing, never stops learning, and never stops fighting. So let's embrace the fight. Let's welcome the challenges. And let's celebrate the continuous growth that life offers us. Because that is where true victory lies. Not in the absence of battles, but in the strength, wisdom, and courage we gain from fighting them. I want to remind you of a few key points we've explored today. We've talked about the importance of resilience, about never giving up no matter how tough things get. We've discussed the nature of challenges and how they are not meant to break us, but to build. We've reflected on what it means to have the mindset of a fighter, to embrace failure as a stepping stone to overcome fear and doubt, and to find strength within ourselves. We've looked at the role of support systems and the ongoing nature of life's battles, and we've seen how these all tie together in the continuous process of growth. But more than anything, what I want you to take away from today is that the fight itself is what makes life beautiful and meaningful. It's not about reaching a final destination where everything is perfect and easy. It's about embracing every challenge, every setback, every obstacle, and seeing them for what they truly are, opportunities to grow, to learn, to become stronger, and to discover more about who we are. Life is not a race to be won, but a series of moments to be experienced fully. It's not about avoiding the fight, but about engaging with it, about stepping into the arena and giving it your all, knowing that each battle you face is shaping you, refining you, and helping you to evolve into the person you are meant to be. So I encourage you to embrace every challenge. Welcome every opportunity for growth, no matter how difficult it may seem. See every obstacle as a chance to build your resilience, to deepen your understanding, and to strengthen your spirit, because it is through these experiences, through these battles, that we find the true beauty of life. It is through the fight that we discover our deepest strengths and our greatest capacities for love, compassion, and courage. And remember, the fight is never about winning or losing. It's about who we become in the process. It's about the lessons we learn, the wisdom we gain, and the love we share. It's about living with purpose, with passion, and with a commitment to never stop growing. As we close, I want to leave you with a powerful thought. Life may not always be easy, but it is always worth fighting for. Every day, you have a choice. You can choose to give up, to settle, to play it safe, or you can choose to keep going, to keep pushing, to keep fighting for the life you truly want. So I urge you, choose to fight. Choose to embrace every challenge with open arms and an open heart. Choose to see the beauty in the struggle, the meaning in the fight, and the strengths in your perseverance. Let me leave you with a quote that has always resonated with me. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. This is the essence of the fight, the essence of resilience, and the essence of a life well lived. So, let's commit today to never stop fighting, to never stop growing, and to always, always rise again. Because in that fight, in that rising, we find the true beauty and meaning of life.